Hey guys, it's Amy at Zoe Beck, and I'm going to do my weekly reading update for August 5th, 2008. So, of course, Booktubeathon is going on. I'm doing a lot of reading, which is great. As I said, I've been putting up reading vlogs probably way too often, but I can't do them like usually singly, like every day, which I forgot I was supposed to vlog today. Anyway, it's still Sunday. Oh, I'll come up with something. Anyway, point is that it's been really busy, and then work was just normal, but I had to still work, so it just took too much time out of my day. I'd much rather read. So I'm gonna go through the stuff that I read last week, what I finished, what I didn't finish, and then what I might read into the next week. So on Sunday, I decided to read some of the Bleak House chapters for the Dickens Alone by Katie at Books and Things. I'm behind. So I did try to read this on Sunday because I didn't want to start anything new before Booktubeathon on Monday. So I decided to try to catch up on my pages. Well, I didn't do so hot. I had a really lazy Sunday and I watched way too much TV and Booktube and stuff. So I only read May's chapters. But I at least got to read them, and then I got to watch the video that Katie did at the end of May or early June. So I've got that done. Now I have to do June and July. So I'm still fighting to get this done. So hopefully after Booktubeathon, I will try to get those 2 sections done. And then I have to do August. So I might be doing another 3. I need to catch up. Anyway, I'm working on that. Anyway, so then on Sunday, I also picked up, or I was reading this from Saturday, was rereading, it's a reread, is Archangels Viper by Nalini Singh. So I got about halfway through. I just, as I said, after I did Bleak House for a while, like I went back to this and just tried to read this, and I was distracted. So again, it's a reread. It's my brain just froze, sorry. Paranormal romance series, but it's really a good long series. This is book number 10, and number 11 is coming out in 2 months, so I'm really excited. So anyway, I picked it up to reread whenever I have time or need a break from something. So anyway, so I'm not going to talk. It has, you know, angels and vampires and archangels, and pretty awesome. Anyway, one of my favorite series and favorite authors. So anyway, I'm just rereading that. So I reread that part of that on Sunday just to get me through Sunday, because I didn't want to start anything new before the Booktubeathon. So that started on Monday, and my coin toss decided to read, had to read Wide Sargasso Sea by Jean Reyes, and, Rees. It was Rees. Sorry, Rees. So I found this very fascinating. I'm not going to say I loved it or enjoyed it a huge amount, but just because of the writing style, except that it was written really well. I mean, it was very like atmospheric, and the descriptions of the Caribbean were really well done. Again, it's a kind of a retelling of one of the characters from Jane Eyre. So, I mean, yeah, you could read this on your own, but if you read Jane Eyre, this is I think it's a really good companion book to that. It's just kind of interesting how it was done. I did have some issues with a first-person narrative because the first section was all one character, and then in the second section, it was 2 characters, but you didn't know who at first was talking because both of them were in the first-person perspective. So I had a little issue with that when I can't distinguish who it is right away, whose head we're in, because I actually read, like, I think almost a whole page before I realized, oh, we're in the other person's head. Like, I did not get, I was trying to figure out why that person was doing something, and I'm like, why are they doing that? And then, well, I realized she'd switched perspective on me, and I hadn't a clue. So, but overall, I thought it was really good. I mean, luckily it was very short, but I did enjoy that, and I'm glad I finally read this, because again, 20 years ago I'd learned about this, even though this was written back, I think in the 60s, but I finally got to read that. I also finished my audiobook, Quiet, The Power of Introverts in a World That Can't Stop Talking. I found this super fascinating. I was so glad that I picked this up. And I got it, the audio CDs from my library because I had this book sitting on my shelf, and I'm discovering that maybe buying nonfiction books I have to cut back, because I think I listen better to them than I do physically reading them, because I want to read fiction. I'm not. So anyway, so I got the audiobook from the library. So it was a really good audiobook too. I really enjoyed it, and there was a lot of good tips in here on how to deal with other people who don't look at the world quite the same way as you do. And I think, you know, being able to communicate with people is awesome. So, you know, to get along with at work. So I know that there's some tips I got from here that are pretty cool, and also forgave myself for some things that I've done in the past that I'm like, well, I didn't know that would be a problem. Anyway, so I really enjoyed that, and I'm glad I read that. So then I picked up Cheerful Weather for the Wedding by Julia Starsky. I never know how to say her name. Anyway, this is one of the Persephones. It's a really teeny story, just over 100 pages. And it has to do with kind of, it's like the day of the wedding kind of thing and how everybody reacts. And it was a really funny little story. Like, well, I wanted to really like it, but you can't, I don't know, it's hard to do that in such a short time. And then you're jumping between a lot of characters and how they're reacting to the wedding. And a lot of people are regretting things that they've done in the past or said. And it was really interesting how it all kind of came about. I didn't quite know what I was getting into, I guess. And but it was fun. Like I enjoyed it enough that I'm glad I read it. It just it was a funny little book. I just think it's interesting that this author was published by Virginia Woolf and her husband, so, and that she enjoyed it, so, or at least enjoyed it enough that they published it, so I think that's kind of neat. Anyway, it was interesting, because again, it's talking about the day of the wedding, the bride's kind of having some question marks about, is this really what she's doing? Her ex-boyfriend is there, invited to the wedding, and he's trying to decide if he wants to stop the wedding. The mother's going crazy and stuff. I don't know. Well, not going crazy. She just doesn't listen, and she doesn't remember what she ordered. It's hilarious. And again, her cousins are hilarious because they're just young kids who are doing stuff. It was a really interesting read. I'm glad I read that. Then let's see here. Did I pick up this next? Yes. So then I picked up Hotel Iris, and this was a major disappointment. So yeah. Okay, so I read about 74 pages of this. It's like 160, I think. And I've had this on my shelf since last summer, I think. And I bought it, and I'm thinking, oh, you know, it sounded really interesting. You know, this young, like a 17-year-old girl meets an older man and her relationship with him. And I knew it was a little dark from what I remember before I bought it. But whoa, I was super shocked by one scene that was pretty close to where I stopped. And I wasn't the scene that, well, I mean, it upset me in a lot of ways. Because I have some issues with, again, this is a Japanese novel, so it's translated by Stephen Snyder, and this is by Yoko Ogawa. And so I don't know if, I don't think it's a translation issue. I really think there are some consent issues in that one scene. And it just bothered me. Because I was like, whoa, you know, whoa. But I'm like, okay, well, and then it kind of went on, and and again, I know that there's obviously some kind of journey going on here, you know, it's her story, so it's, you know, the young girl, young woman, and she started to get on my nerves because she has been like held back by her mother from doing anything, and you know, she had to drop out of high school to help run the hotel that her mom runs, and it's just you feel sorry for her, except that she starts to get mean or, you know, manipulative, and I don't like that, and I've never liked that in characters. And again, I think it's just a personal thing. When I start to dislike what the character's doing and I don't feel that that's necessary or I like that, I don't want to deal with it. So I got to the point where she was pretty much blackmailing one of her coworkers, and I was like, I'm done. So I'm gonna DNF this book. I got halfway. I just don't care anymore. So because I read most of that, and then I read like 6 more pages at work, and I went, okay, I'm done. Like, I'm not reading this. I had to find something to read. So I had my phone with me, so I looked on my Kindle, and I decided to read the Lady Astronaut of Mars by, okay, you guys can't see that. Oh, you can't, well, anyway. The Lady Astronaut of Mars by Mary Robinette Kowal. Now, this was on my list as well to read. I didn't realize how short it was, though. So this is like a novelette. It's like 31 pages, so it's really small. But I am so glad I read this. This was so good. Like, I am pumped to get The Calculating Stars now, which is a novel that came out a couple months ago, I think. I know the next one's, the second book in that series is like a duology is coming out this month, but I'm going to get the first book from the library, so I'm on the list right now. But this book was really good. So it has to do with a woman who was one of the first, it's like an alternate history of the world, as in the, I think it was, there's an asteroid that came to Earth and took out Washington, D.C. And so the whole world changed, and they all decided that they need to get off planet. So then they started doing everything to the moon. And then she was one of the first, I guess, to go to Mars and to help with that colonization. Fantastic. I really enjoyed this because this was a story about her in her later years after Mars is colonized, and they want her to, or there's oh, it was heartbreaking in a lot of ways. I don't want to give a lot away, but it was really good. And I know now why this is like a Hugo winner. It was really good. At least I'm pretty sure the little sticker was on the other screen. But anyway, I really enjoyed this. It was really quick. Definitely going to pick up the book of it. So it goes back and tells the story of everything that happens, I think. I hope so, because I'm all looking forward to all the women, you know, going to the stars. Because again, it's like the 50s, but it's the 50s where they get to, they're trying to get off the planet. So I don't know, it just sounds really cool. Anyway, so I'm waiting for that book. But this short story was, or novella was, or whatever you want to call it, the novelette is what I saw it was called. So anyway, so that didn't take me that long to read because it was 31 pages. So I had to find something else to read. And I had already started Cherish Hard by Nalini Singh earlier in the month when I was stuck in the car when my dad went to work for about half hour. He left my mom and I in the car while he was doing something. It took him longer than he thought it would. Anyway, so I'd read a section of this and then a little bit after that. And I was like, then I put it down and I was reading something else. But I wanted to come back and finish this. So, again, this is a contemporary romance. This is the first one in a new series. It's kind of connected to the Rock Kiss series that she does. This is the Hard Play, series. This is the first book. And, it was really cute. It has, you know, a gardener who has a master plan. And, but so he's trying to get ahead and he's pretty young. So he's wanting a corporation to take a chance on him so he can get some exposure so he can do his big idea. And he reconnects with, or he finds the girl that he had been attracted to many, many years ago that he never got a chance with and he always wanted to. And so then it's their story. And again, it's a cute romance. There's some funny things. There's some, I would say, one or two cringy moments for me, which is unusual for a Nalini Singh. But again, it made sense in the end. I like the way it all wrapped up. I must admit, it was one of my favorite endings. So, but I was glad I finished that. So that was kind of unexpected, but I had to find something to read after Hotel Iris. So then, after I finished that, I picked up On the Beach by Neville Shute. This is it's like a post-apocalyptic, okay, so it was written in the, I think, 57. And it was kind of like a little future, so it was like 61 or 62, supposedly a whole nuclear annihilation kind of thing. Or cobalt. Anyway, so it takes out pretty much the world, and Australia is one of the last of the continents, or that has still people that are not affected. And it has to do with an American submarine ship and its captain, and then an Australian officer who is the liaison between the Australian and the American ship. And it was, and then all the people that they know, a couple of the other people on the ship, and then as well as the women in their lives. And I thought this was really good. Like, I had no idea what this was really going to be about. Like, I thought it'd be a lot more action. I heard that, I know there's a movie and I'm supposed to watch it for the whole Booktubeathon, you know, book to movie. I haven't found out if I can look at it. So we'll see today if I can find it. If I can't find it, I can't find it. But at some point I'm going to watch it because I want to see how they deal with this. This book was awesome. I am so glad I read this. I probably just described it horrifically, but really just read It's a quiet novel, much quieter than I thought it was going to be. Like I was expecting more action. There's a little, like, not action, but there's things that happen. There is a plot. There is things that are going on. But really what's so powerful about this is how quiet it is, and the human side of it, and how people react to things. And I just thought this was great. I'm so glad I read this. This is, again, it's definitely one of the best books I read this year. I love the fact that this reminds me, well, not reminds me, but it hurts me in a way, because it brings back for Chernobyl Prayer and all the stuff I read in that nonfiction book about the Chernobyl accident. And it was just so profound in that way, is that I could think about what I read in that connected to this, where he's just imagining what it's going to be like. So it was just, it was just so, it was really good. I'm really glad that I picked this up and I got to read this. And again, it was the longest book that I picked up for Booktubeathon. But I really did enjoy that. So I recommend that one. And then, so last night, right before bed, I picked up The Lost Child of Lynchfurred by Paul Cornell. This is the second book in the Witches of Lynchfurred series. I read the first one back in September, I think I figured out. So I just need to continue and finish this little trilogy out. So there's this one, and I think the third one I'm probably going to get on my Kindle or something, or from the library. I haven't decided. But I had to buy this one at one point because my library didn't have it. Anyway, what was I gonna say? So anyway, I haven't got very far into this. I'm about 20 pages in. So this one has to do again with one of the witches or whatever. She's one of the pastors in town, and she sees a little boy ghost in her church, and that's kind of starts things off. So something's going on. Clearly it's nothing normal, because it's Lynchfurred. And again, they're really close to like a border with kind of like the fairy or fairyland or something, some kind of dimensional thing. So anyway, but I'm starting that, and this is the one I have to read with the hat on my head. Oh well, it's not too long. So I got about 100, I have like 110 pages to read of this today, so we'll see what happens. But, so I don't know what I'm going to read after that. To be perfectly honest, that's 110 pages. I don't know. I mean, again, it's Sunday, so who knows what I'm going to feel like reading. But I might pick up another novella or short story off of my Kindle. Now again, I don't claim that I've read, so for the books for Booktubeathon, I've only completed 4 books that they classify as books, and then that one novelette. So I figure if I finish Lynchfurred, that's 5 and a novelette. And I figure if I do a short story or another novella or something, then I'll have 7 things. And I know that's more like 7 and 7 instead of Booktubeathon, but that's just the way it is. So anyway, I've gone on long enough. I've just done a lot of reading, different things this week because of Booktubeathon. And again, I picked up like every short thing I actually have a lot more short things that I didn't realize how much things that I had that were short. But I did pick some interesting things. One epic fail. But everything else has been pretty good reading, and I've pretty much enjoyed it. So anyway, how's your guys' Booktubeathon going? Did you guys get a lot read? Today is the last day, so I'm going to try to get a few more things done, or at least finish up this one book. And we'll see. I don't know what I'm going to read into the next week. I have 2 library books that I got that I kind of want to try, so we're going to see. I just don't want to say what they are because if I bail on them, I don't want to talk about them. Or I might pick up the Three Musketeers. I still have I really want to get back to this, and Rincey Reese is doing her thing, her month-long Three Musketeers. I'm not following with that because she just has it where how many pages you read a day. Well, I just need to finish the book. I've already read 160 pages, so I'd like to finish that by the end of the month is one of my goals. And then I need to get back to Bleak House. I need to read more of that. So we'll see. As I said, so I don't know how this reading week will go because after Booktubeathon, I might just be burnt out. And I might just go back to rereading Archangels Viper just to kind of chill out. So we'll see what happens. So anyway, I will talk to you guys later. Bye.